Welcome to Colonial Downs for Saturday, August the 17th, day number 6 of the season. Merv, we're already 40% of the way through after today, but 10 races, 2 more steeplechase races. We made our steeplechase debut last week. My picks didn't run worth a jump.
And mine either.
No pun intended.
Huh.
But yeah, we're going to still try we're going to try our best. My goal is for the end of the meet is to pick at least one out of the 10. If I'm 10%, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I think I've got seconditis. I think I might have finished second in each. So
we have by the way, we have a horse in on Saturday that is an all-time seconditis horse.
I found him.
Oh,
yeah, 14
man.
seconds, I think.
From 39 starts.
Yeah.
That's crazy. We'll get to that a little bit later. But let's kick off with the steeplechase races. And a reminder, the early pick fours and stuff kind of get moved back a couple of races. They start in the second race, and they do feature one of the steeplechase. That's what it was. Okay. So anyways, early daily double starts in the first race. 2 1/4 miles steeplechasing, and there's 10 horses in this race, Merv. So we have big full fields in the steeplechases so far.
Yeah. I've looked to the 9 in here because Jonathan Shepard trains. He won a steeplechase race on opening weekend. And Thomas Garner in the irons, he also won opening weekend on Moorland. So just look to the connections that actually won a race and hope they can do it again. This one's been on the flats last couple, but I looked back to last time ran over jumps, made up a lot of ground in that race. Far back early, only beaten 5 lengths, was behind That's That, but I thought might offer a little more value.
I felt like both races we saw last week, they kind of just trot around there, do the jumps, and then things really don't pick up until that final backstretch jump, and then folks start going after it, and it seemed like 1 or 2 would start edging away at that point, and it was becoming a 2-horse or 3-horse race in both of them. So just from a structure standpoint, I was kind of looking for someone who maybe would be a little bit closer up in here, and I thought That's That made a lot of sense just because that horse did go over the jumps and finish a very good second, only beating a length and a half, then went back onto the main thoroughbred turf racing at a mile, broke the maiden at Delaware, ran a good second first time against winners. The horse clearly loves turf, and didn't seem to mind the jumps, and Ross Garrity, always a solid jump rider. So I thought that one was maybe interesting. It's funny, Inverness, you mentioned Jonathan Shepard, like he's kind of the name we all know because he crosses over into the thoroughbred world, and he's been very successful at the jump training. There's one horse in here that was previously trained by Jonathan Shepard, the 5 Inverness, and I was thinking, Shepard off, do you want to go that way?
Well, I looked at Inverness as well, but then I also found Chocolate Covered Donut beat Inverness a few races back, and I thought just from a value perspective, Chocolate Covered Donut might be worth a long look, considering he also has Galligan in the irons, who also won on Hepcat last week.
Well, your picks for race 1?
I went 9, 3, 10.
Second race on the card does start the pick 4. It's the first thoroughbred race. There'll be a steeplechase race after that, so just be aware of that. And pretty good little group here on the main track at a mile. Optional claiming 40 the van. John Jones in here, who is a really super cool horse from the Maryland area, and he drew the rail in here. And he's to me, it looks like he's kind of trying to get back in gear a little bit. He had a nice win earlier this year at Laurel, but since then, still good finishes. He's just an old war horse, but I think he's just trying to find his right level.
Yeah, well, if you look back a ways, this dirt form really from earlier this year looks like it definitely fits in here. And considering his last 2 races have been, not terrible, just a little rougher. Yeah. Might get a little value in there. There's 3 in here that actually wheel back from last week that ran here last week. 2 from the same race. Color Guard and On Patrol both ran in a turf race, and Color Guard just did not appear to enjoy the grass.
No, he was heinous in both of his turf efforts,
So I thought getting back to the dirt for this one was going to be key, and I put him on top. I'll just forgive his last race.
Yeah, you go back about 6 starts, and he was on the lead on the grass and just totally packed it in. And there's just some horses, most horses, I think, have their preferred surface, and for some reason they kind of wanted to try that again. And maybe he was just coming down here, and they wanted to get him a run. And maybe they were pointing toward this and thought, hey, let's just try one more time kind of thing. But I thought Holiday Bonus was maybe worth a little bit of a look at a price. Really put in a big late run after going way wide here over the turf course at Colonial. It was a really big effort. Mock Tree, who won, came up the rail with just a crazy good run. But this horse was definitely flashing down the outside, and hasn't. The last 2 dirt starts were pretty bad. In fact, a lot of the dirt starts are not all that good, but does show 2 wins over a fast dirt track. They're just not on the program, so you have to go back a little ways. But I thought it was a big price potential. And then I saw Ron Moquette brought one in here. My thinking was if he's bringing one of his other horses for the stakes, may as well, you're already paying for the bus, you may as well bring a second one down.
Yeah, I started looking at Holiday Bonus because I kept thinking there's a lot of speed in here. Color Guard, Eisenstadt, even John Jones could show a little early zip. And really, the 2 dirt races that we saw on opening weekend, closers actually won those races. I
think the big turns in the long stretch, I think the riders just aren't used to it because most of these guys aren't riding at Belmont, which is the only other kind of comparable. I mean, Laurel's pretty decent size. I guess they have a 1-turn mile.
Yeah, and Churchill too. Color Guard actually had a good race at Churchill going the 1-turn mile as well.
Yeah. Brighton Lane, we mentioned the bridesmaid of all bridesmaids. I mean, the record, it's pretty incredible, right?
Yeah, 39 starts, only 3 wins, but 14 seconds. Wow.
It's made $225,000. So I mean, has earned a lot of checks. In fact, 3 straight second place finishes. But and isn't like a deep closer. Just always seems to kind of just keep going and grinding and pass some tired rivals. I think runs in a lot of small fields too. If you look, hasn't been against 10 or more in a long time, which I guess is for dirt racing in America at this point not all that uncommon. Your picks for race 2, Merv?
I went 2, 1, 6. I put our seconditis in my third
spot. Okay, you're gonna get burned by that. He's gonna get second. Back to the jumps. 2 miles and a quarter. So 2 miles and a quarter. I learned they start just in front of the top stretch jump. So I thought that was the first jump. I thought they started way back in that chute, but the first jump is until they cross the wire, and then they're off. So it's actually a total of 9 jumps. Or no, 8 jumps because it's 4, and then 4 again, and they don't jump over the last one when they hit the wire. I think.
That's right, yeah.
So, but anyways, the horse down on the inside motivational is a very, very interesting speed runner to me just because when this horse has gotten to the lead, he's ran some big races, including a big win where he got claimed. But the way they start those races, they kind of line them up in reverse order. The 12 comes over, the 11 follows. To me, it looks like the 1 is at a disadvantage because it's kind of the last one to get squared up, and a lot of times those other ones are kind of already on their toes, ready to go. And I feel like the draw for a speed horse is not all that good to be inside, but we'll continue to watch.
And there was at least one false start here last weekend too, where they had to kind of go back and do it all over again. That can't help. I landed on the outside horse here, Ave Award.
Yeah.
2 wins from last 2 starts, and in the last start beat First Friday and Moorland, who came back last weekend to run 1-2 in a similar type race. So it was a live race and just seems to be in good form.
And versatile too.
Mm-hmm.
Came from way off the pace last time, had been on the lead 3 starts back, had been just off the lead early on before getting to the lead, and so I think certainly a big contender in here. What about the 4 ballist? Again, I got to figure out how to say these names. We'll say Ballastes or Ballastes.
One of the things we talked about on a show earlier this week was when a horse doesn't finish a race and you can draw a line through it, and wondering does that do you get more value out of horses that way? People can't forgive it. Well, this horse looked like a winner, right, in the last race, but fell over the last jump. So he doesn't fall this time. Could actually be in really good position early. So I gave him a long look in here.
I mean, really, if you do toss the 2 races that the horse didn't finish, 3 second place finishes, and they're all pretty solid efforts. Yeah. So I thought, as you said, you got to make the jumps, though. Your picks for race 3, Merv?
I went 9, 4, 7, 8.
4th race begins the thoroughbred racing action. Again, I guess the 2nd race really begins it, but we go non-stop from race 4 on. And a mile on the inner turf, I'd say probably our most common distance so far this meet. I feel like that's been the race we've seen the most, is the mile inner turfs.
Yeah, and sometimes consecutively in a row, they just get going. This could be your first 14-horse field if we don't get any scratches in here.
Yeah, we'll find out. Well, I think we know one of them scratched. Yeah. Anyway, that's
Pea Soup entered back in this one.
Yeah, Pea Soup entered back in this one. Well, yeah, for sure, and is taking a pretty big class drop. Even though it was against State Bred last time, still a maiden special group versus just open 10,000. It's definitely going to be a class relief. I actually think this horse is a little bit of an interesting long shot. The debut wasn't all that bad. When they dropped in a little bit in class to 25, it wasn't all that bad. Like, there's reason to think this horse could move up a little bit.
No, I totally agree. I marked him as a potential value play in here because I thought even though it was a Virginia restricted race, it was a good race.
Yeah, Beale Street's a good horse. Yeah.
She looked good. So if you can get some value on Pea Soup, I would definitely consider. I did land on the 7 Simmered Shenanigan, and I do think this horse is likely to go off favorite in here based on the big drop last seen at 25,000 level at Laurel. Didn't run bad. I thought was making up ground, beaten less than 6 lengths, with kind of a weird run in there too.
Yeah. Yeah, and that one has only turfed a couple of times, and both were okay. One was third. When it comes to the differentiating claiming price to dirt prices, a lot of tracks will not have the same bottom for turf as they do for dirt. So, like the 25 to me is a turf race, and my thinking is that maybe it's a little weaker than a 25 dirt would be, whereas a 10 dirt might be a little better than They sometimes the turf bottoms are just higher for one reason or another. I don't know.
Probably 16 at Laurel, which you ran 4
but you ran 4th and it was okay. Do you worry about the 0 for 14? Though? This is a horse who's kind of been learning how to not win.
I do worry about that a little, but just when I took a look at the speed figures and the way that he's been running on the turf, I just couldn't really move away from him.
The outside horse, Merv, one smart caller, had a pretty decent third-place finish against Maiden Special at Mountaineer. We've seen a handful of Mountaineer runners come over. They haven't run all that well so far. Their numbers usually tend to be a little bit lower, and I don't know if that's a track-specific thing or just that's what they're running up there. Are you kind of... Because what will happen for me is a lot of times at a meet, I start seeing a number of horses from one track that aren't doing good, and I start just kind of dismissing them. Are you doing that a little bit with Mountaineer?
I have been dismissing the Mountaineer and Charlestown horses just because we haven't seen a winner. Yeah. And honestly, Presque Isle has been a little cold recently.
Yeah.
The number of runners we've seen coming from Presque Isle, we've only seen one winner, I think, so far through opening weekend.
The 10 is one of my price plays in here, Mossy Chick, who... I'm kind of just looking at the fact that the turf debut was pretty good at Tampa, going a mile, just was making up some ground after not a very good start, and then kind of has thrown 3 really bad ones and then one other okay one. And so I'm just hoping that if the right horse shows up, back to the turf, back to the right distance, kind of catches a not great field, I thought maybe at a big price, 15-1 morning line, could be a wake-up potential. Because there was nothing in this race screaming to me, I'm going to be tough to beat.
No, I don't think so. And your price plays have been pretty hot, so I'm paying attention.
As long as they're running, you're picking 15-1 shots. They're not going to win all that often. 10-1 shots even. They only need to win once every 10 times to be profitable. But my whole goal is I just want them to at least put in a good run and hopefully spice up an exotic and occasionally, hopefully win. We had a couple of them scratch the first week, so that was a little bit of a...
There's a couple horses coming in from this race out of the same race at Laurel, and they both got moved up 2 spots. I guess there was a double disqualification there. The 6, A Little Info, was the one that was bothered there.
And was making up ground, too.
Yeah, only beat 3 lengths with traffic trouble. I thought she was definitely worth a good look in there, especially if you should get value on all of these, considering there's 13 betting interests.
It's so funny. Like, for me, just the minute they hit that 10th start when they haven't won, it's like a button just turns off. I'm like, I don't want to be a part of that horse. They've had enough chances. It's one thing if they've been competing, higher up, and now start 13, they're finally taking the drop. Then I can do it. But, that horse has had a lot of chances at maiden 16, maiden 25, and just hasn't got it done. So for me, the minute they start getting into 13, 14, 15, I'm running away. But Merv, your picks in race 4? You want the 2 0 for 14?
Yeah, 7, 6, each of them 0 for 14, and then on the rail 1 Pea Soup.
Now, if either one of those 2 wins, you can kind of give me the from down on the apron. 5th race, first of 2 stakes events on the card, and open stakes events. We had Virginia Breds on last Saturday night. This week, the open runners, and some good ones.
Yeah, short field, but man, it came up really tough. Lots of speed in here, I thought.
Ton of gas. That was what I was trying to figure out, was how is this race going to shape up. I mean, Petrov's certainly the name, right? Just because he was kind of tertiarily on the Derby trail. Well, he was on the Derby trail. Did he run in the Derby?
No, I don't think so.
I was thinking. Well, if he didn't, he was definitely around. And but he's been a really solid runner at Oaklawn. And I figured Ron Moquette, he was bringing Petrov. That's why he brought his one earlier on. And I thought you made him a deserving favorite, but this is one of those races I think everybody's going to take a little bit of money. I can't see anybody getting left out. Even Sunny Inspired came running with a good effort last time, and his numbers aren't that far back.
So I thought Petrov was going to be overbet in here. So I just
he's got name recognition.
Yeah.
Right?
So I took a stand against him. I made him my third pick just because you might want to include him, but. Taking a stand with Mr. Jägermeister in here. I just thought there's a lot of speed in here, but he's probably the best speed, and maybe is the one that has the stamina to keep going. Because you see a lot of races in here where he was going or out of ground, and he was able to hold that speed and go the distance. And Leandro Gonçalves, I think, in to ride Mr. Jägermeister. He only named on 2 other horses tonight.
I was going to try to Google something, but our internet's not working all that well. But I was trying to remember the name of the horse. So Valerie Lund, who trains Mr. Jägermeister, used to be up in the Northwest quite a bit at Emerald. And I think it was our boy Roy or Roy's. She had a horse that was a crack sprinter at Emerald, ended up winning the Grade 2 Churchill Downs on Derby Day with Calvin Barella. But she has had some really good sprinters over the years. And this is a Minnesota bred who's crushed rivals in those Minnesota State bred races, but has
Attaboy Roy?
Attaboy Roy, that's it. Yeah, Attaboy Roy. And but the last start was Open 62. I mean, those races at Oaklawn are tough.
Oh yeah.
And they're big purses, and I mean those are some good horses. And this horse didn't just win; I mean, really ran them off their feet. So, and you know, really the only defeats were a couple at Turf Paradise, which maybe she just didn't like the track there, and that Mystic Lake Derby, which was trying something totally new. When you break it down to sprints and dirt sprints, this horse wins a lot.
Yeah. The only concern for me was coming in off a 4-month layoff, but I mean, just a really sharp work, most recent work.
Yeah.
And I excused one of his 2 most recent defeats because they popped blinkers on him and took those off real fast.
What about Lewisfield for Jeff Runco? We talked a little bit about the Charlestown Shippers. I think that's a name Runco we think about for Charlestown, but this horse has basically been competing in Maryland and running against a lot of the better sprinters on the grounds there.
Yeah, he's been facing more speed in here. I thought he'd appreciate backing off 7 furlongs to 6 furlongs in here. It just seemed like he got tired last time out. I think 6 furlongs is probably more his distance, and his record at the distance reflects that.
Yeah.
So I put him in the 2 spot. I'm trying to beat Petrov with Mr. Jägermeister and Lewisfield.
Old Time Revival to me is the speed horse that I want to go cause some shenanigans if you're pulling for a closer. Because I just don't think he's I don't think he's fast enough to clear some of these, and B, I don't think he's good enough to hang around after a battle. But I do think he could certainly have a say in the outcome of the race for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. He did face Lewisfield last time out and led early, but faded further than Lewisfield did.
Well, but there was no Mr. Jägermeister. There's some.
Oh yeah, this will be a lot sharper, no doubt.
So, your picks for the 5th race, Merv?
2, 3, 6.
The Chesapeake Stakes. So we start the 12% takeout pick 5 on race number 6, Outer Turf Event, optional $40,000 non-winner to 2 other than. Read the conditions. Always read your conditions, kids. A field of 7 in here, and to me, this was kind of one of those races. I'm really interested because LEB, I remember calling my first day at Monmouth, and she won. She came up the rail in like this dramatic way and got up. But she was supposed to win last time against Jersey-bred stakes runners and didn't, and had a big shot to, but just flat out got out kicked by a number of horses. The horse that she beat that beat her Two-Back Valiance, is a really nice one for the Pletch, and. I think she's a really good horse, but man, coming off that last defeat, and now she's sprinting too, which is just a different ball game.
Yeah. Well, we talked about speed in the last race. Yeah. There's plenty of speed in this race too. I thought 6 of the 7 had potential to go for that early lead. The only horse in here that closes is the 2, Fame Feather, who I used in the 2nd spot, and I thought you might get some value on her. We talked, I think, on yesterday's show about how sometimes those state-bred races at Evangeline or Fairgrounds come up a little light. Yep. But she did beat Open Allowance Company a few races ago, and then 2 back, she was in a state restricted stakes, but she was facing males too, and only got beat 3 lengths. So if the pace turns suicidal, I think that Fame Feather could be the one to really benefit from that.
Yeah, Contrariety has gas. 50 Shades of Grace has gas. I'm a little intrigued by the outside runner, Unicoi, who I think can come from off. His last start was sitting 4th early. I wasn't far back, but I love the fact that this horse draws outside because the rider can kind of see what is going to happen. And clearly, I don't think they're going to send, but the horse loves the distance, 6 for 16 with 4 seconds. I thought, and to me, could be one that gets forgotten about in the odds a little bit. And so that was kind of my
I was looking at her, and I saw last time she actually won a race, they did send her, and she popped off with a 21 and change first quarter, so I don't really know. She's kind of the wild card in here, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, she obviously did a lot of winning earlier in her career because she's just got the one win in her last 10, but has 8 career wins. I mean, it's been a very useful mare, almost 300,000 in earnings. Your picks in the 6th race, Merv?
Well, I went with the 6 Contrariety on top. I just think she's just white hot right now. Clearly likes the switch to the turf. Like I said, Fame Feather put her in second. And then LEB, I think she's going to be the favorite in this race. I think she's going to be overbet.
And she's going to probably have to come from off of it again because, I mean, these are all route.
Dropping into sprint distance. I think so. And also, she's been running against just straight 3-year-olds. These are older horses. So.
And how many times have we seen 4, 5, 6 speeds on paper, and one of them goes and 5 of them go like
That's
this?
true.
Because they don't want to get caught up, and and they want to be the one that sits third. And unfortunately, only one horse can sit third. So, 7th race, Merv kicks off late pick 4, which I mentioned been very popular so far for the players playing that. A maiden event for state bred, so restricted to Virginia maidens, 3-year-olds and upward, and a field of 9 here sprinting on the grass.
I looked at this race for a long time.
This is literally the least amount of opinion and typing I've had on any race we've had. I just did not have any feel for this.
No, I landed on the 4. I'd like to know, based on the strength of his connections and the fact that he's coming in from Saratoga. That he's only beaten 2 horses in his last 2 races in total, but I just thought with those connections coming from Saratoga, I liked him the best in here. It was hard to find any horse with experience that showed a lot of interest.
Well, the 4 had some speed too. I mean, I think that's the other benefit. I mean, the horse was close up for a good chunk of the race before really fading off the scene, and so that was kind of the way I took this race, was kind of trying to just think who can get to the lead. The 6 has a little bit of speed, and so I was just trying to kind of find, maybe it's a good time for a firster. That Ferris Allen horse on the outside has a couple of decent works coming into this. Not a barn that's very proficient at first-time starters, just 2% with them. But
good turf pedigree on that one.
I agree, though. The 4 is going to take most of the money. I thought maybe the 1 putting the blinkers on, maybe you get a little bit of a wake-up from that one. Not a lot of speed drawn the rail. Maybe if it somehow can show more speed with the blinkers added, maybe that one's one that wakes up at a price. I don't know. I really just was struggling to find a good opinion in this race. So if you guys got one in the 7th Saturday that you like, Beem Awards at Merv Huber.
I was fishing for a price too. I took a look at the 5, the franchise. Didn't like a lot of its first race, but getting to the turf by Sydney's Candy, I thought was maybe Sydney's Candy was a fast horse, moved up on the turf, so could get some value there.
My favorite area to find prices is second-time starters, because sometimes they run that first time, they just don't know what's going on. Maybe it's a surface they don't like, maybe whatever. To me, you're getting, with that horse at least, you're getting enough new things happening that, I mean, to me, I love second-time starters that didn't do anything in their debuts. I've just seen too many of them win over the years at big prices. And, a lot of these other horses, were bad in their first start too, so it might not take that much of a move forward to do. What were your final picks ended up in race 7?
I went 4, 8, 5 in here, but I think this race has big potential to light up the top part.
8th race on the card, late pick 3 time, and good group, 5.5 furlongs sprinting on the grass course, a field of 8 in here. And how'd you see race 8, Merv?
I thought you must have called him Catholic.
Catholic, yeah.
Was an absolute standout in here.
He's fast.
Oh yeah, good races at Monmouth, and we've seen so far when horses are running good at Monmouth, they come here and do the right thing.
He's 1 for 1 with me calling him. He's 0 for 1 with Frank calling him.
Oh, well, that is an interesting stat you won't find in the program.
We had some horse at Monmouth showed up that had won at GPW and had won the first time I called him at Monmouth, and he hadn't won in between. He was like 0 for 5 in between, and I told Brad Thomas, I said, Brad, this is a underused angle, and now it's on. And of course the horse ran up the track. But no, I think you're right. I think a lot of people are going to lean this way. What about the European shipper? We had one of those win, right? Opening
we
week?
did, ever changing, yeah. I thought the European shipper was interesting and would take some money in here. Hasn't started since October though, so I didn't really know how to include them in my bets, other than thinking I'll probably include this horse somewhere.
Yeah.
The one thing I don't think you're going to get on Catholic is a price. I made him 9 to 5, but he may go off as a really heavy favorite in here.
I think the one might get bet down a little from the line, just because of being at Belmont and winning at Belmont not all that long ago. I mean, literally Belmont week. at 33-1. And then, if I remember right, that was the last race of the day. And I think the second place finisher was a big bomb as well. They both broke. It was like the numbers 10 and 11, and they both lit up. They both went bonkers up front, but this one somehow held on. And that was very, very wide last time. But I just think that Naira shippers are going to take money here.
Yeah, no, I thought so too. And I thought, that starter that he was in was just really a tough race for a horse that was otherwise eligible for a non-winners of one, which is what he's in for today. So I thought that looked like a class drop to me, and I thought he would definitely offer value. Look how fast they went there at Belmont, 107-2 for the 6 furlong.
Belmont week though, the turf was totally amped up.
But anytime I see 107 change, I'm going to take notice.
Yeah, they that wasn't Belmont week. That was one after. Never mind. Discount that last point. What about the 4 and the 6? The 4 as a possible speedster. I mean, we haven't seen this horse on the grass except for going way back, and did have speed routing on the grass way back at Canterbury, but Turf Paradise didn't. But lately has been showing a lot of speed on the dirt. Is there any way this one can go with Catholic?
I tried to like the 4. Yeah. I took a long look, but you asked if I discount horses that come from certain tracks.
Yeah.
Well, I don't discount Canterbury or Turf Paradise shippers. I just don't really know what to do with them.
Well, maybe we got to watch see what Mr. Jägermeister does first.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I did notice 4 starts on the turf and just hasn't hit the board yet. So just not sure if that's his bag. What was the other one you asked me about?
Tom Proctor horse.
Yeah, I put him in the second spot. Turf debut here for this one. I thought the pedigree hinted at maybe liking the grass.
They tried
as well.
to last time and just got rained off.
Yeah, and it's one of your favorite angles. Broke its maiden last time out after taking a little while to figure it out. Maybe he's figured it out.
Did it nicely too.
Yeah,
really, really nice maiden win. I thought that one certainly made a little bit of sense. 8th race picks, Merv.
I went with the 3, 6, and 1.
This is not our featured dollar amount race, $75,000 versus the $100,000 Chesapeake, but I think you could argue, it's in the feature spot, right? Second to last race is the feature spot, right?
Right. Yep.
Generally, but some very, very high quality talent, including Extravagant Kid, who's the heavy favorite, who was a length and a half off of winning a Grade 1 last time. So this is a class drop.
Yeah, I made him the heaviest favorite of the weekend. I just thought he was an obvious standout coming out of that Grade 1, but he just always runs well, no matter where he's running, what surface he's running on, Grade 1 or not. I couldn't find anything to just dissuade me from putting him on top.
Yeah, I mean, and we talked yesterday. The Dars group have had a really good start here. Brendan Walsh had a good start so far with a big win, and there's definitely other speed. I mean, but this horse isn't a get the lead kind. It's that classic stock from second or third, tactical speed, and pounce on you, and which a lot of the best horses, I don't want to put the horse in the best horse ever category, it's not, but a lot of the top horses, that's kind of that angle they employ. Is they have, Imperial Hit's one that comes to mind, and he can roll early, but he's mostly going to just he's just going to kind of sit off of it. Where did you go for second, third? Because Justaholic to me is an obvious second choice.
Yeah, went with him second. Man, they took their time with him.
Yeah.
He was on the shelf for a year. They brought him back, and he's just been in top form. Not sure if they just took his time and now he's just really fit, or if he just loves the grass his last 2 races since moving to the turf.
He kind of runs that similar race as Extravagant Kid, so I'm curious if maybe they kind of, if Justaholic's whole thing is like, look, I'm just going to not let that one out of my sight.
Who's going to go first?
And we're going to stay right there. Yeah, maybe you do try to get the jump on him. Jamie Ness has been so hot, I almost wanted to give an extra little look to the number 4 horse.
Yeah, I looked at the 4 and the 7 also. Those have run together as well. But in my third spot, I actually went with the 10, Dirty, who last time burned a little money. It was 4-5 and found a way to get beat. But if you look 2 back, ran in the Jaipur, and I said 107 excites me at Belmont. Well, they went 106 and change in the Jaipur behind World of Trouble. He's actually faced World of Trouble 3 times.
Would you make World of Trouble a favorite in here?
I would make World of Trouble a favorite over Extravagant Kid. But it definitely no World of Trouble in here. So I thought Dirty.
To me, this is a race that has a lot of viable long shots to hit the board, even if you think Extravagant Kid won't lose. Fairweather Friend, is coming in here in very, very good form. It is a Mountaineer shipper. American Sailor is blindingly fast.
I thought he was the fastest in here. Look at those.
And
21 flat.
And by the way, he hasn't been giving it up. Now, this is his kind of class test, but he has been destroying horses over at Laurel in those little starter allowances, and so to me, I think this is a worthy. He's earned his spot in a race like this, and he's 10-1.
Sometimes those turf sprinters, when they get hot, they can move up fast and actually make an impact.
I actually did put Dubini in here, the 7, as one of my price plays, just because I thought he ended up coming from a little further back. He had to overcome. He got away very, very badly last time, and still ran on pretty decently behind Dirty. And I just thought that if he's a little bit closer, I don't anticipate him being on the lead like there was 2 starts back at Aqueduct. I think that was just kind of fluky, and so I thought he was the kind that could run into the exactor in the try and just pep up your prices a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of options in here. Good race.
Yeah. All right, your picks in there. You went chalk.
Chalk.
You can't say it's a good race to go chalk, Merv. It's against the rules.
5, 3, 10.
We wrap up the card. Seems like we've been wrapping up with the routes on the grass, but we're sprinting on the grass for the closer on Saturday. 12 horses, a lot of first-time starters, 2-year-olds, of course, this time of year on the outer turf. And I figured you like these kind of races because these are pedigree kind of plays, because really there's not much experience in here.
Yeah, I looked at everyone's pedigrees, didn't find anything that jumped off the page, really. Yeah. I landed on the 7 American Giant in here. Comes in from Presque Isle. I already mentioned only one winner from Presque Isle so far this
Only horse with experience.
Yeah. And like we said, can move up in their second start. I think there's Giant's Causeway on the dam side, indicates we'll take to the turf, and was wide throughout in that race too. So landed on the 7. Second spot went with the 11 in a hurry on the strength of those connections. Although I did see no real recent work. Last work on the tab is from July the 20th.
I'm sure we'll get a late work, yeah.
But the dam scampering was graded stakes placed on the turf. Yeah. So good things there. And then the 4, Zoisha, maybe?
Yeah, Zoisha.
3 bullet works right in advance of her debut for good connections, right? Sheldon Russell's, Didham, Dars, they've all been hot this meet so far.
Yeah, well, this is I stink at these races. The only one that maybe stood out to me as a pricer was the number 2, more or less. A pretty decent work basically all the works have been pretty solid, and Schoenthal okay at debuting, and when he does, he hits at a price, and he shows a positive ROI with first-time starters, even though he's only 9%. So to me, and he's very good debut on the turf. He's won a couple out of those out of just 12 starts. So that was my the 2 was my kind of possible jump up and do something. But you went 7, 11, 4, 5.
I did.
Am I right? Okay.
That's right.
We don't even need you, Merv. I can do your picks for you. No, appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate you joining us here on week 2 at Colonial Downs. We got to get ready. We're recording this Thursday right before the races, so we got to get ready for tonight's races. But replay shows in general, I think the plan is to have them up Wednesday late night for Thursday and Friday, and hopefully maybe we'll keep doing this where we tape it Thursday for Saturday. 3's a lot in one day.
That is a lot, yeah.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching and for interacting again on Twitter. I'm at Beem Awards. He's at Merv Huber. We've had a number of folks who are kind of focusing in on this meet, interacting with us. I know you got one guy making your morning line. He's competing with you on that.
Yeah.
And but I love it. Everybody's been really, really cool. So we really appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see you back next week.